I mean, we talk about the Indonesian bonds, great returns, more to come, further upside.
I believe so, but in the meantime, we're staying a little bit cautious on it just yet. But to start with, I mean, I think the best thing about the Indonesian government bond market this year has been how a lot of the volatility characteristics about it has changed. And that has surprised even us as well. I mean, we were quite bullish coming into the year for Indonesian government bonds. But you look at BI on both the FX market and also the bond market. They're very quick to buy bonds whenever the bond market sells off, very quick to buy rupiah whenever IDR depreciates. So the volatility characteristics has changed somewhat. Now, coming into the end of this year, it's done so well. Generally, at the end of the year, you have people taking profit and actually protecting profits before the next year. So we are a little bit cautious at the moment. But with that said, if that volatility characteristics held, even while we're trying to wait for the cabinet to come in, there's without a doubt next year, we'll probably see pretty good numbers as well.
How closely are you watching the cabinet to decide if Indonesia remains attractive as an investment destination?
Fairly. So as a bond investment destination, Sri Mulyani is probably the key to the entire piece of puzzle. So, whether or not she stays as finance minister or whether or not, even if she becomes economic advisor, but she gets more power on top of that particular role, because at the moment it tends to be the finance minister gets more power in terms of actually operationalizing a lot of the policies. If she does, then yeah, it will keep Indonesian government bonds a very attractive space.
Right, and you've been focusing a little bit more on just this negative yielding debt that we see in the world that's really spurring people to more Asia dollar bonds, for example, as you were talking about that we saw earlier this year. What does this mean for when it comes to the dollar prospects, though? Because, some are saying this pound strength we've seen could actually bring down the dollar. Some saying, look, there are other factors that could easily keep the dollar bid up here. What's your take on really what brings down the dollar now?
I think specifically to Asian currencies, given that's what I do watch quite a fair bit, you know what, you're starting to see the delta differences here in terms of, you're starting to get slightly maybe more positive numbers coming out of the Asian bucket. And when I say that, it's very specific. In terms of Asian currencies, it's things like, INR and IDR, where you could potentially still see further, I wouldn't say gains per se, but because they're high carry currencies to start with, at the very least you're getting bond returns and then a stable-ish currency. And then on the flip side to, I guess, your export-driven economies, this is where China and your US-China trade deal comes into play. We do believe that Trump has basically opened up the avenue of saying he has a deal as and when it suits him, which will bring forth some Asian currency appreciation at specific times. And we're expecting that to, we're expecting the probability of that to get higher as his elections come closer. But by and large, given the fact that we're still in this space where US and China is going through some sort of, I guess, geopolitical standoff, this is where that dollar Asia market becomes very attractive, because dollar is safe haven currency. You get a bulk of Asian dollar debt being IG in the Jackie index. So you're getting sort of very high credit rating companies and countries in there, the GCC included, which allows for a combination of, higher carry as opposed to all your negative yielding markets, and also dollar safe haven as well. So diversification is what we're going for at the moment.